Hello, we've come to the end of our book, Play the Man, and I'm about to read the conclusion. So, what is a woman looking for from her man? I mentioned a number of qualities which could tremendously benefit a marriage, but these are not the root of the issue. God is at the very root of everything. A good husband needs to have a real and personal relationship with God if he is going to be somebody to look up to in his home. God said of Abraham, "For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abram that which he had spoken of him." That's Genesis 18, verse 19. Preachers have often pondered why God chose Abram to be the father of the Jewish nation. God knew Abraham would command his whole family, teach them to walk uprightly. Don't ever leave the spiritual training of your children to their mother, no matter how good a job she does. Otherwise, they will grow up thinking spiritual matters are only for women. It would be good if fathers put the children to bed in the evening and read and prayed with them. When they're old enough to understand, begin reading or telling Bible stories. Throughout the day, as it is natural, tell them of our Heavenly Father. Together, examine nature as the wise creation of a magnificent God. Check yourself for balance by asking the question, do my family view me as a stern and severe disciplinarian, or as a cheerful and wonderful companion and guide? Your judgments and punishments should be lost in the many hours of happy communion. An important principle to remember is that the more time you spend doing things together, the fewer discipline problems you will have. A wife who adores her husband and a child who adores his father will want to please him in everything. A wife or child cannot rebel against their best friend. Every couple quarrels passionately at some stage in their married life. And in the privacy of their own home, this is something which flares up and simmers down without anyone else usually being involved or affected. When I was growing up, there was continual and constant bickering in my home, which made me expert in the art of argument and sarcasm. My mind was sharp, and I could find a suitable retort to anything anyone dared to say to me. But I found it very difficult in our marital home to give vent to my feelings, as we've always shared the house with other people, at one stage 12 others in adjoining rooms, and they could hear and give testimony to any ungodly attitudes I may have displayed. My parents had a plaque hanging on their sitting room wall which said, "Christ is the head of this house, the unseen guest at every meal, the silent listener to every conversation." If we took those words seriously and were constantly aware that God, as well as others, really did listen to everything we said, we would speak far less. Although at times it's been a terrible frustration to know that all our raised conversations were heard, it also helped me tremendously to look more closely at what I said and the way in which I said it, and eliminated completely the desire to argue because I only displayed my own rebellion and irritability. Obviously, God arranged this circumstance for my sake so that I could become more Christ-like, and it was very humbling. I've often wondered where I would be now if I'd married someone other than Morris. The thing that has helped us most is our single vision. No matter what problems we faced with our differences in character, we always knew what God had called us to do, and that God had called us together in the same vision. I know of many marriages where husband and wife are involved in different ministries, and my observation is that these marriages simply do not work for complete unity. There is always an element of competition, which should never arise in a marriage, especially as when God created Eve for Adam, he specifically made her to be a help for him, not the other way around. The thoughts I've offered in this book are not the outcome of my overcoming problems in a difficult marriage. Quite the opposite. God has been very gracious to me and given me a wonderful partner who desires with all his heart to live what he preaches. Morris has been blessed with patience, and it's been tested to the limit living with me. But I know that my relationship with Morris has taught and enabled me to be a good wife. I couldn't have done it on my own. I know it's commonly said that men are just little boys who have grown up, but I'm convinced, because of my own experience, that women with seemingly tough exteriors are just vulnerable little girls inside, looking for someone to take control and relieve them of responsibility. Men, women need your help, so play the man.